Welcome to Scoop World Order. It's Thursday night. We're a little bit late tonight. Had a little meeting, but we appreciate you guys and sorry for the wait. But we've got some great stuff on. Did Central Michigan blow this thing open? We had a huge update from the Oracle on BuckeyesCoop.com. Some of the stuff that's really going on behind the scenes. We're really excited to get into that. A lot of information flying. A lot of stuff, people that have been stabbed in the back. It's kind of Game of Thrones. We're going to get into that a little bit. But as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to our new Buckeye Scoop Ultra members. That is a new subscription plan we're launching out here. We're going to do a random day where we're going to have a kind of a chat where we'll answer all the questions. So we'd love to have you guys join Buckeye Scoop Ultra. We just launched that today. But if you enjoy this content, please click like. Also, click subscribe. Also, click the little alert bell so you guys can get an alert when we happen to go a little bit later. Normally, we go around 7. We're going at 9 tonight. Have a little stuff to do, but we're excited to kick it with you guys for a little bit. A couple hours. We're going to answer all your questions. If you guys have super chats, send those in. If you have something you're dying to know, super chat it. We'll stop with the show and answer your questions immediately. It's kind of a nifty little system that we've pioneered, and we're really excited about. So, that being said, man, Nevada, it has been a wild day for Michigan. They tapped out. They talked all this trash about the TRO and Jim Harbaugh wanted to take the stand and all that, and then they folded like a house of cards, like we kind of projected on BuckeyesCoop.com. Where are we at with everything? Again, Jim Harbaugh is not going to be on the sideline for the Michigan game. It's going to be Fat Albert versus Ryan Day. What kind of impact does that have? And how do you project this going forward? Again, I think that with the Big Ten not really having an enforcement arm and an investigation arm, this is a good outcome for them. But the NCAA is going to come in with the hammer of God. And I think it's going to be very ugly for Michigan as they get deeper into this. But what are your thoughts on the developments today? And what is some of the stuff that the Oracle broke on BuckeyesCoop.com today?
Man, so much to unwind right now. Let's start it. Well, yeah, let's just start one piece at a time, and we'll just kind of build. We'll build up here. First of all, the Michigan capitulation today was one of the great things. Now we've been saying forever on this about this whole caper that the Michigan administration was going to make all this bluster about supporting Jim Harbaugh, about fighting the good fight, about going down with the ship. We believe in the coach. We believe, we're being wronged, and that they didn't really mean it. And man, I took some blowback on that. Oh no, texted Bet. He really means it. He texted Bet. And I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's completely duplicitous. They're going to sell Harbaugh out. And what did they do today? They completely capitulated. Now, let's make sure that everybody out there understands. Michigan got nothing. This was not a settlement. This was surrender. All Michigan did was they had filed for a temporary restraining order. They dropped their request for a temporary restraining order. That's it. They got nothing. There was no quid pro quo. There was nothing. Michigan claimed that the Big Ten had agreed to end the investigation. The Big Ten's not investigating. The Big Ten doesn't have investigators. The NCAA is investigating. And the Big Ten came out with a statement afterwards saying all that they've done is they were thankful that Michigan had dropped the temporary restraining order, and they're continuing to monitor the NCAA investigation for any new developments, and if there's any developments, they will act. That's it. So today was a glorious day of all this talk about Michigan, and they had the temporary restraining order. The draft had already been drafted, and the judge had already ruled, and they were going to get it, and they were going to win, and Harbaugh was going to testify, and it was all a lie. All a lie. And you look at it, and what's the greatest thing ever is the Michigan insiders now are tapping out. They're literally tapping out. Literally, I think Ballison on 3% came out and said he's out of this. He's not having any more discussions about it. He's tapped. They're literally tapping out of the subject right now because they've been so wrong. They've been so utterly, completely, 100% wrong. And I get it, man. If I was that wrong, I'd quit. I wouldn't do this anymore. I would just be like, dude, I just don't have decent information. I'm going to get out of the business because you cannot get up there and continue to embarrass yourself like that and subject yourself to that kind of misery. It's just not worth it. So that was beautiful. The Michigan statement was beautiful. The Big Ten statement was beautiful. So now we go to why. Why did Michigan tap it? The obvious reason is because Michigan never believed in their case, didn't really believe in Harbaugh, and really felt like, hey, he's going to get what he deserves. But the undercurrent in this is Central Michigan. Now, we haven't heard a lot from Central Michigan since the Conor Stallions spy glasses I don't know if you've got that graphic or anything else like that that we can throw up there for people to see, but Conor Stallion's dressed as the CMU coach. That
Oh,
immediately flagged the attention of the NCAA and the Big Ten, who demanded an explanation. And Central Michigan isn't going to go down with the ship on this for Big Blue. They're just not. They have too much to lose. Too many guys. They're not going to get up there and just lie. What can they say? No, it wasn't him. Everybody knows it was him. So what happened? They sang like canaries. And what happened as a result of that? There are two Michigan head coaches, or excuse me, assistant coaches that are implicated directly in this, with a third potentially under investigation. So that's what was the genesis of what happened today. Michigan did not want that getting out. This is what's percolating right below the surface. This could break any time. And I think for Michigan, it's really bad, but it's the Central Michigan connection, because we all knew that guy didn't just wander down there on his own and dress up like a CMU coach. And like, we knew that, but now they've tied it back to Michigan, and ultimately Michigan's going to have to pay the piper on this one, and it's going to be bad.
Are you surprised that there hasn't been more made of, like the Central Michigan thing? It was patently obvious that they had, they were complicit in getting him down there. Obviously, I would think, it's ballsy if you're an intern and you get another random person on the side. That's maybe the ballsiest thing I've ever heard of in the history of college football. I've got different experience from everybody else in the press and everybody else. I've literally been, an intern, making $17,500. When I was at GA, I made $17,500 for a year, $17,500. So basically working for free. I got my MBA at night, so at least it made it somewhat worth it because I got a $150,000 degree. But like, if I gave my field pass to some random dude from another team, and he was down there, and somehow he got the same sweat jacket, he's got the sunglasses on. And again, like in a normal circumstance, when they're not all in on it, they'd be like, who are you? Why are you here? Get off our sideline. Call security. Like, you just can't have some random dude chilling on the sideline. But the Central Michigan coaches have deep ties to Michigan. Again, you got to understand, when you're at a MAC school like Central Michigan, you go to every, Michigan has 3 or 4 camps, much like Ohio State. They have like their summer recruiting camps. Those camps are totally worthless now because, back in the day, those things were big deals. But now it's like, you don't really see some of these older kids show up to those. Like JJ Smith doesn't go to like Ohio State camp anymore. So you get to know these coaches. A lot of those guys, I think, worked at Michigan previously. So they know Conor, and he's like, hey, I can maybe help you guys out a little bit, but I'd like to just check their signals. And, hey man, in my manifesto, I'm going to need a tight ends coach one day. So, you do this for me and I'll remember that, and I'll bring you along when I'm the head coach at Michigan or whatever. But again, that's like career suicide if you do something like that. If you just get some random dude on there, and then all of a sudden Jim McElwain, who's been the head coach at Florida, the head coach at Colorado State, he was he had a position, I think he was a quarterbacks coach at Michigan before he took the head coaching job at Central Michigan. All of a sudden, that guy's on the sideline, and nobody kicked him off. Nobody said, hey, what are you doing here? They all knew who he was. And again, they all knew what he was doing. So, it's funny. Do you think it's surprising that Central Michigan hasn't come out with a statement, a course of action, like something where they're just like, hey, by the way, we fired everybody. We fired the 2 interns that got him on the sideline. We fired the guy that gave him their field pass. Again, if you put a gun to my head, so Kirk, how could this happen? How did this happen? Seriously, like one of the GAs or interns or whoever who had a field pass was down on the field. He was already down there. He slipped Conor his field pass through the gate. Conor came down there, put his gear on, put his little Central Michigan gear on, little hat, the sunglasses, whatever. And he came down there. And, once you're down there, it's not like there's like security people checking your field pass every 5 minutes during the game. Like once you're down there, you're good. But like getting down there initially is tough. And, if you're a guy who's been down there, again, this isn't really that hard to do, but they did it. And again, it just kind of all went under the rug. Are you surprised Central Michigan hasn't issued a statement as the course of action that they followed after all this came to light?
No, I think the fact that they haven't filed a statement is the most telling thing about it. It shows that they're under investigation. It shows that they're under a gag order. It shows that they have submitted their information to the NCAA. And I want to correct one thing that you said, just to kind of put a little bit of flavor on it. It wasn't like he got slipped the pass and then Conor Stallings went there and stood by himself at the sideline and nobody noticed him. He was down there hobnobbing with the CMU coaches the entire game. Like, it's one thing if you say, hey, he went down there and nobody kind of noticed him because the game's really busy and you don't really see him. He was talking to the people. He was standing there right
No.
next to their director of recruiting the entire game. He was
Yeah.
talking to their DC. He was talking to their OC. I mean, I don't believe that could happen without them knowing that it was him. There's just no chance.
Yeah.
So
No chance.
for CMU, the problem is everybody's implicated. I mean, I think if they were going to say, everybody who knew about this needs to be fired and needs to be gone, it'd be the entire staff. They wouldn't have anybody left. They'd have to gut the entire program. So I think for them, they've thrown themselves on the mercy of the court. They've gone with let's just go full transparency. We're just going to tell you exactly what happened in terms of how we're going to do. And it's kind of like turning a state's witness. If you turn state's witness and you rat them out and you completely tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, you hope that they go less on you, in your sentencing. And I really think that's where CMU's at. And I think that was, that's what happened today. You were like, what could have happened between, a couple days ago and today, where Michigan was like, oh, we're going to fight this to the end. And Jim Harbaugh is going to get up there and he'll speak and he's going to, and that's like, oh, here, we'll take our punishment. Please, sir, don't make it worse. What happened? Well, CMU happened. And that's a problem for Michigan. And I am telling you, I talked to, I wouldn't call them Michigan friends, but I have Michigan sources, and they are all scared to death. They are all scared to. I've had a couple of them text me, and they're like, Nevada, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really, really bad. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been trying to tell you guys for a while, and they're like, I don't think they really realize the depth of this thing and how Michigan. There's an old saying. When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. I think Michigan stopped digging for the first time today because they just kept digging a bigger hole and making it harder and harder and harder. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like with me, I just think that when you're in this type of situation, you just have to beg for mercy. You have to be complicit. You have to fire a lot of people. You have to kind of, again, that's why I think if Michigan was really smart, they would have fired Jim Harbaugh. And maybe they're trying to make it through the season. Because again, they're a top 5 team, but it's all going to come down. It's all going to come out. Again, the longer this goes, the uglier it's going to be. I think that. They've got, again, they talked a lot of trash about how, they had Tom Mars and all these high-powered attorneys. High-powered attorneys are excellent, but they can't get you out of everything. And if it's something that's like, hey, I got to hire you to get me off of murder. Okay, well, what'd you do? Well, I killed somebody. I left the glove behind. I left the machine gun behind. There's blood all over my shoes. DNA's everywhere. Like, it's kind of game over. And so the attorney's going to be like, well, this is our best case scenario. You can legitimately just, plea it out and pray to God that they'll let you, do 30 years instead of, 10 life sentences. But that's kind of what this was. I just feel like the attorney said, hey, the worst course of action would you be, Jim Harbaugh up on the stand and big, pandemonium and whatever. And then all of a sudden you get smacked and the TRO gets denied. So like from a PR perspective, that would be a disaster. So, caving and eating the 3-game suspension, I think it was their best case scenario. Let Sharon Moore coach, which again, I'm sure, I mean, I'm like you. I wanted Jim Harbaugh to coach. Like, I don't want Sharon Moore. I don't want any excuses. I want to see him on the sideline. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is like all that in terms of what he means on game day. So for me, man, I'm just, I'm surprised. Nevada, are you disappointed that when we go to Ann Arbor, we're not going to see Jim Harbaugh on the sideline?
Part of me is disappointed. I did want him. I sincerely did want him there, but I also believe that there had to be some punishment for this, and I think this is such an embarrassment for him. This guy was suspended for 6 games this year, 6 games, and to miss the Penn State, miss the Michigan game. No, I think it's like I said, and it's just it's a start. It's an appetizer. This is the opening course. Yeah. So no, I mean from that standpoint, because I don't like to see people. I don't want to see cheaters prosper, and I didn't want to see him get away with it. And but we knew they would cave, man. I'm telling you, this was the most predictable thing of all time that they were going to cave. They were going to put up this, we're going to fight it. We'll fight it, man. So if you're a Michigan fan right now, I mean, you have to feel completely deceived, right? Like you have to feel like that everything was a lie. Like, oh my God, you're like the one thing that you held on to was, I don't care about all this other stuff. but I know we're going to fight, man. We're going to fight to the bitter end, and we're going to, we believe in this. We're going to, and you didn't. You surrendered, dude. You
Yeah.
absolutely capitulated, and you surrendered. There was no settlement. It was just total. It was kind of like I said. It was kind of like settlement, kind of like the Japanese settled with the United States at the end of World War II. You know what I'm saying, like that. It's like, please don't bomb us anymore. Please don't.
Oh God.
We'll put everything down. Please, all we want to do is just be able to go home and just, please do that. That's kind of what Michigan got out of their quote unquote settlement today.
Well, like again, I thought that the bluster was stupendous. I mean, oh, we've got the Michigan law professor is going to be the judge overseeing the TRO, and like a TRO that only gets enacted if there's merit. Again, we lived a TRO where we had to flip a really bad decision that was made by a really stupid person, and it's one of those deals where I'm telling you, like, I mean, you better be on point because that thing was not going to go through because, again, the facts are so overwhelming against Michigan. They're not just going to say, oh, well, we'll just erase that and we'll move on, kick the can down the road and we'll see. And, like people were saying, oh, well, there's a, you get the notice of allegations from the NCAA and then you've got 90 days to respond. And that puts you into February. I'm like, well, that ain't how it plays when it's this bad of a PR stunt for the Big Ten. Again, the Big Ten is $1 billion conference. And, when they find a person like Jim Harbaugh and his staff cheating this bad, and you have to deal with the fury of, oh, I don't know, what do we have? We have like 14 now, and we're going to have, we add 4 more, 18, however many teams are going to be in the Big Ten. It's just like, you have to deal with the fury of the presidents, the ADs, the coaches. Like, I mean, it's literally, I don't know if there's ever been so much symmetry in terms of the hatred versus one team. I mean, everybody hates Michigan right now. Everybody hates Jim Harbaugh because, again, this is their jobs. You have to understand, like, when you're a coach at, whoever, Purdue, Northwestern, whoever, and you go against Michigan and they're stealing your signs and they're whooping you, and then all of a sudden that, said coach gets fired, that is a major change. I mean, people lose major jobs. They got to uproot their families, uproot their kids. So, these guys get passionate. Again, like, there's people that lost their jobs because Michigan would hang 70 on them because they did everything they were doing. And again, Michigan's very good. I know that no matter how many, they're still going to beat the judges of the Big Ten pretty good. But, when they beat them to a crazy extent and they cover the spread at some crazy extent, again, that's why you guys, at the end of the night, just remember Vegas is undefeated. Numbers are undefeated. So when it stinks to high heaven that all of a sudden these guys became monsters against the spread, something stunk. And when they dug deeper and deeper, they saw, well, these guys are cheating really bad. The super chats are pouring in. Appreciate you guys. If you guys have a question and you guys are dying to have it answered, send us a super chat. We also launched Scoop Ultra today, Buckeye Scoop Ultra. So if you guys love the channel, we're going to do a Scoop Ultra members only chat probably once a month. We're going to schedule it probably mid-December. Just launched it today. We got a bunch of new members. So thank you guys that are Scoop Ultra members. Appreciate you guys. Jeremy G, this is a good one. Harbaugh and UM's desperation makes me appreciate OSU even more. 3 different coaches, 2 natties, 12 bigs, 5 CFPs, while that team at North has been irrelevant. Again, I credit to Truss, credit to Urban, Ryan Day, because again, like, there's, and again, we push the edge sometimes on some of the stuff we do, but this was so far over the edge, it was almost insane. And again, like, it's, once you do something like this in the coaching profession, it's hard to come back from it. Like, there's always kind of that stain. It reminds me of Belichick with Spygate. And Belichick's probably the best, football coach who's ever lived. But that Spygate thing looms large, and they got smacked pretty hard for that. And this is kind of the same deal, stealing signals and winning and that type of deal. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Does it make OSU feel better, look better when you get to deal with the fact that, we're not getting smacked, we're not embarrassed? Again, like, I'm surprised Jim Harbaugh's still employed just because, there's a lot of people that are worth, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that love Michigan. They don't care about football. And this is a giant black eye for the university. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I thought you made a really good point earlier just about, people's livelihoods and jobs. And, we laugh about some of the kind of the gentleman's agreements that go there and, about recruiting and about other stuff. And I've always thought that stuff was garbage. Like, you got to recruit, you got to do your thing. There's no such thing as not going after people's commitments or whatever it is like this. But this is over the line. I mean, this is, I mean, the only thing that I can imagine that would be worse than this would be like literally bribing the officials or doing something like that. I mean, this is where that's kind of the severity that this is. And I can tell, you can just tell by the outrage from the coaches that this is personal. This hit home for them,
Yeah.
um, because this is so far beyond the pale, and it should never ever happen in any sport. And for Michigan to do that and think they could get away with it, and then afterwards, like you said, just try to brass it out like they did nothing wrong, you know. But I'm telling you, I knew that was bluster. I knew that
Yeah.
was BS. I knew Ono was what a joke. That guy is the biggest. And I'm telling you what, after we beat them, and we're gonna beat them in 10 days or whatever it is, he's not going to survive this, man, because the
No.
fans are going to turn on him so bad. They're going to
Yeah.
blame him for the loss. They say, well, if Harbaugh was here, we would have won. How could you give up that? How could you surrender that? And he won't survive. Him and the AD are both gone. I'm telling you right. Nevada Buck is calling it right now. They will not survive this after we beat them 10 days because the Michigan crazies are gonna like you try to appease the mob, right? And eventually you're just hoping that the
True.
mob moves on to somebody else, and eventually the mob turns on you and they eat you. And that's just the
Yeah.
way it is, man. So
No.
for Ono and for man, they're gonna get eaten. I'm telling you, call it. We'll have a pod about that when it happens. But that's the easiest call of 2023 is those guys are going to get after we beat them. The mob turns on them and they don't survive this.
I mean, like I said, it was a weird horse to hitch your wagon to, man. You're saying bet and all this like corny trash. These guys, I mean, they're all bet. I'm like, bet you guys are gonna get the TRO. Bet you're not gonna see Jim Harbaugh. Bet has Jim Harbaugh coached his last game at Michigan, Nevada? Is that what you're thinking right now?
But I don't know about that because he'll probably coach some meaningless bowl game or the AutoZone Bowl or whatever they're going to go to or but because I just don't know if they can tie any more stuff directly to him. I think this stuff is limited to the coordinators. I think he was clever enough to use Fredo Harbaugh there as kind of the in between, and let that guy kind of buy the T-shirts and hey Dad, look, I bought a bunch of T-shirts from him. And it's like, good job, Fredo, way to go. And so no, I don't think they can link Jim directly to it, which I think will save him from the Big Ten's ire. More of that, but he won't escape from the NCAA. That's for sure.
I mean, like these guys have never heard of cash. Like they literally sent it through Venmo, and it's like again, you audit all those deals, and that was the funniest thing maybe of all time is that they said, oh, in the 17 months he worked at Michigan, Conor S did not turn in a single expense report, and I'm like, well, yeah, dude, because you're an intern and you make $50,000 a year. You are not a kind of guy that gets an expense report. Like gets expense reports at a college program. Guys are on the road recruiting because they have to go fly to Georgia and Texas and Florida and wherever, Vegas, California, like wherever you're recruiting. So those are the guys that have to do expense reports, mileage, you're driving around Michigan, Ohio, wherever these guys are recruiting at. Like, again, I worked at Ohio State for 3 years. I never even thought to turn an expense report. Like literally the only thing I possibly could have expensed is that they pay for you to go to the American Football Coaches Association meeting, which is usually like the week after the national championship. It's usually in like San Antonio or Nashville. Like that's the only thing I even thought about expensing. And again, I've worked for major corporations, like, so I'm used to doing expense reports. And like when you're a plebeian or an intern, like you don't get access to do expense reports for frivolous stuff. And again, what's he going to turn in? Oh, hey, I bought, 20 tickets to, 10 different games. And they'd be like, you paid all this money for these? Like, what are you doing? I mean, that would have been like a red flag the size of, Antarctica flying over his deal. So of course he didn't do that. He was paid in cash. Again, it's going to be fascinating to see who was funding this. I bet it'll be an illicit donor. He'll get named and they'll say, oh, he was writing checks for all these things. Because again, they said he went to like 60 games and spent 15 grand. And I'm like, dude, like to go to like the Ohio State Penn State game, if you want the tickets he had, probably 2 grand, I think at least, maybe 3. I mean, lower level, across from the Ohio State sideline behind the Penn State bench, so you get a good view of the signals. Like, I know the market for tickets. It ain't getting cheaper, folks. I mean, it's really expensive. But we appreciate you guys. We're going to keep these super chats going. Spook Jr., appreciate you, my man. You're always in here. All you regulars that are here, thank you for kicking it with us. Again, we're a little late tonight, but we're excited to rock. We're going to go for a long time tonight. Well, Fat Albert, see, I coined that. So you guys remember where that came from. That came from Buckeye Scoop, came from Kirk. Fat Albert, I'm calling Sean Moore big fat boy. Will Fat Albert be able to ground and pound Maryland like they did PSU? Question mark. Is Maryland capable of making Gigi McCarthy. I love that. Gigi. Of course, I don't like to say Gigi because that's Urban's younger daughter. So I'll stick with JJ. I don't want to disrespect Urban's daughter, who's like a family member to me. Gigi McCarthy win it with his arm. Nevada, I think me and you, we don't disagree about much. I think that they're going to run through Maryland. I think it's basketball season out there. Do you think that Michigan will run over Maryland the way I expect them to?
I don't, but I understand why you say Michigan's been able to play that bully ball against kind of these overmatched teams, and I just Maryland's just always been one of those teams that you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
They are a really schizophrenic team, and we've seen them kind of come out of nowhere and play some terrific games, and I just have a feeling this is going to be one of those times they're going to step up. They're gonna have that big effort that we're just not expecting, and I expect it to be a closer game than people think. Now, like I said, watch it. It'll be 70-0 in the first quarter, but that's I'm betting real money that doesn't happen. I believe Michigan's going to be down a few pints from an emotional standpoint, and I think Maryland's going to play above their skis.
Yeah, I've seen teams like Maryland, these teams that are like hyper talented. They could either play with anybody or just get ran over by like a Rutgers or something that doesn't make any sense. Maryland, like with Loxley, like Loxley is an ace recruiter. Like if Mike Loxley was our offensive coordinator at Ohio State, he would clean house, recruiting, especially in the South, especially on, in that DMV area, around DC. I mean, he's a beast now. Again, like he was the OC or the wide receivers coach at Illinois in 07 when they beat us, and he got like Vontae Davis to go there. I'm like, Vontae Davis could have gone to USC or whoever the superstar teams were in 07. Like, I mean, he could have gone LSU. And I was like, why on earth did that guy go to Illinois? I'm like, well, because Loxley's good. And a little slime there, a little bit of grease. I mean, you might want to, if you shake his hand, you're probably going to take a shower afterwards. But, that's how some of these guys are. Again, in the world of NIL, you can get away with basically anything now. But Loxley, again, he's got people that are really loyal to him in the high school community. They funnel kids to certain places. Everywhere he's been a dynamic recruiter. Again, like when he was at Bama, they're getting Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy, and he was a beast now. So I mean, but again, I just don't know if their guys are on point enough in a game like this where they're going to get punched pretty hard in the mouth. Man, these things are flying, man. Appreciate you guys on these super chats as always. Adam Kahn, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. Watch you guys every night from Tucson. Man, it's probably it gets a little chilly in Arizona, but I love Arizona. We were there for a bunch of Fiesta Bowls. Awesome place. So appreciate you, bro. How glorious would it be if they win 1,000 this weekend just to have 35 wins vacated this offseason? We could be the first ones to 1,000 legitimately. Nevada, could that happen? Could they hit 1,000 and then they get the little delete button on their year? Because again, like, those vacated wins, they'll knock you down the peg a little bit. And again, they're going to vacate like some really good, the last two seasons, they've been excellent. They've won a lot. They won the Big Ten twice. And, again, like the 2010 Ohio State season, like they're, they don't have that 2010 trophy up in the Woody Hayes anymore. They took it down and, they put it in the basement or wherever they put it at. But do you think that could happen, Nevada?
Oh, I think it's a virtual certainty to happen. I put the odds at that being like minus 700 or something like that. That is absolutely going to happen. So yeah, so whatever they have planned for the 1,000 win celebration, they better kind of put that by the back burner and keep that thing for another day, because I'll tell you they're gonna be running that one back.
Oh man, Joe Drame bringing the heat. Joe Drame is a Buckeye Scoop staff member. Appreciate you, brother. Hope you and your family and your dad are doing awesome. Thanks for tuning in, brother. From Joseph Drame, thanks for the 10, my dude. Who's the greater American hero, Dwight D. Eisenhower or Sergeant Stallion? And again, I like Joe because he's just like the attorney for Sergeant Stallion, where he misspelled his name because it's only one L. I was thinking like maybe Teddy Roosevelt, George Washington, Conor Stallions. Is he in that pantheon, Nevada?
He's got to be. Conor Stallions he's a great American, and for me to have a guy like that, we all were kind of briefly touched by Conor Stallions in some way, and so in kind of a weird way, we're all Conor Stallions. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you're Conor Stallions. You're kind of that big burly Conor Stallions that's always hydrating and
I got my vacuum cleaners in my front porch, so my HOA sues me. Again, like I got a nice porch, and I've got 600 vacuums out there dirty that I'm trying to ship off to rural Kentucky, so people can save $20 on their vacuum. So I get it. Trust me, I totally get it. Continue.
Yeah, but Connor, I mean, look, for me, I just think about the enjoyment that Connor Stallions has provided my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, my life right now, I'm 61 years old. I'm kind of established. Things are kind of good. Then every now and then you have those little flashes of joy that you're just like, oh man, this is just like so great. And Connor Stallions has been that way. I remember it's kind of like when I got a puppy. I got like a new puppy. You got a new dog the other day. I got like
I did.
a new old dog the other day. And it's just like I'm just so happy to see him. Connor Stallions is kind of like that little puppy for me because it's just, he's a gift that keeps on giving. And every time I get a little kind of sad, I'll pull up the little look of his little face there with the glasses on, with the little light shining in the thing, him recording at the Central Michigan game, and it makes me smile. So I personally, like I said, Connor Stallions is up there. He's definitely on, I mean, Dwight Eisenhower was kind of overrated. I mean, he's no Patton. He was more of a politician. For me, it's Connor Stallions easy.
So I'm just gonna throw this up here real quick because again, everyone's like, "You got a puppy? What is it? What's the breed?" So here's my little girl, little Storm. She's a little black one right there. I got Joseph, who's my 130 pounder. Two German Shepherds. Storm's a little girl. I just got her 2 days ago. So there's my baby. Jojo is very well trained, but he has, when I acted like an idiot one time, he did bite me and it hurt severely. So again, people that are trying to try this place, man, it's like, good luck. You better call Jesus and be right with him because you're about to meet him if you meet these two, especially Jojo. Jojo.
You should have taken that picture and put like glasses on it or something like that. It would look just like Connor Stallions. I'm telling you. You put the
spy glasses. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
as long as how expensive for the scoop, I want to buy some spy glasses, put them on my dog, and walk around to the. He can go to the sideline this weekend. Just walk around with glasses on because nobody would even notice. You have a little sideline pass on, a little sweat jacket. It'll be great.
Exactly.
Who would ever see that? I got a quick film clip I'm going to show because everybody's like, "Why do you think I'm so confident against Michigan?" So again, I know everybody's scared of the big bad wolf. I'm not. I don't evaluate the helmets of the jerseys. I look at the players. Their left tackle, big fat dude, not very strong. Right tackle, again, and these guys have good DNs. And again, I know they won in the end, but watch the right tackle. Right tackle, slow feet. Again, our ends are excellent. JT and Jack are playing great ball right now. But look at this pass pro. Laid off the ball, dead. The quarterback's lucky that look at that. So that is not the standard bearer, like Michigan tackle play where this guy's just he's like barbecue chicken right off the line. So you guys are scared. I'm not. And this left tackle, I don't know if he's ever been in a squat rack in his life, but he gets pushed back with the quickness. Hands are terrible. Pushed back into the quarterback again. So, if I'm JT and Jack, man, I'm like a rabid dog on a bone watching these two tackles play. Because I watched them all game and I'm like, JT and Jack can kill these guys. Again, I know they're going to be running the ball and doing their thing and whatever, but they aren't as strong as they've been in the past few years at tackle. And again, I love assessing tackles just because I played tackle. I love watching offensive line play. And that left tackle transfer from Arizona State. Obviously, Arizona State's one of the worst teams in the country. So he's not like some, he's not Jake Long or Taylor Lewan or some of the standard bearer left tackles they've had that are like powerful dudes. He's very, very average. And the right tackle has been struggling lately. So again, I love our DNs. And again, I know people bang on me because I love Jack Sawyer and JT, but those guys are really good. I think JT's a gangster. I watch him, man. He plays violent. If these guys are gassed up, it's going to be really good. So, but with that being said, we got another super chat that's flying in. So we appreciate you guys. We're going to keep these cranking. D Sunny, appreciate you as always. You are a regular, always in here. So thank you, brother. I'm almost 40. I'm 39. So appreciate you, man. We're getting old. And O State has been contenders almost every year of my life. What separates us from every other program? What's the special sauce? Nevada, I'll let you take that first and then I'll take my take on that.
Well, great culture, great recruiting. You can't be a great program without a great recruiting base. Now, Ohio isn't what it used to be, but it's still pretty darn good, and we've been able to kind of expand that, get those players from Indiana, get those guys from Pennsylvania or, from any of the surrounding states going to Illinois, get some good kids. And then obviously our recruiting actually has been great, but really it's been just a continuation of, if you have head coach position is overpowered in college football. Yep. A good head coach is almost determinative of success. And so when you go from Jim Tressel to with 1 year interruption there to Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, you're going to have 20 great years. And it's just,
Yeah.
look, it's not always that easy. And we talked about the formerly great programs that have fallen on hard times, whether Oklahoma's kind of gone and back, Nebraska, USC, Washington, Florida State, Florida, I mean, just, Tennessee, Alabama. I mean, these programs, everybody's had a dip, every one of them, except Ohio State. Our dip was 1 year. We had a 6-7 year, and that was a year with an interim head coach and kind of a clown show. But other than that, Ohio State football's, you just chuck it on. As long as you have a great head coach, you've got that in-state recruiting base, you're going to be great. And so the future's bright.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think since 01, Trust's first year, they went 7-5. They weren't, it wasn't like after that first year, people were, building a statue of him and lighting candles, saying how great he was. But that next year, they beat Miami. Again, I think that the brand of Ohio State is huge nationally. I think that in the beginning of Jim Tressel's tenure, the strength of Ohio and the football in Ohio was humongous, just because, that 02 class, the class before I got there, it's literally probably the best class in Ohio State history. Because you look at the guys, we got AJ Hawk, Maurice Claret, 2 5-stars, Troy Smith, Santonio Holmes, Nick Mangold, Rob Sips, quality guys, NFL Pro Bowl type guys, fantastic character guys that were all captain-ish type guys that were high-level guys early on, Bobby Carpenter, Quinn Pitcock. I could go down the list. Nate Sally. Monsters, guys that were just program changers. Doug Daddish, TJ Downing, great linemen. A lot of guys filled roles that did a really good job. And I think that started the proliferation of Ohio State. I also think that the overall weakness of the conference helped, just because, back in that day, it was like you'd have the two S-tier superpowers, which was Michigan, Ohio State. And then you'd always have an A-tier team that was kind of like a Penn State or Iowa or whoever that was decent. But we still had better players than them. And so basically it came down to, can you get through the A-tier team and then can you beat Michigan? That's the thing about Tress, is Tress kind of set the tone for everything, because he changed the whole narrative of the Michigan game. He made it, we owned those guys. Tress knew the secret sauce. Again, I lived it. He got the rivalry. He grew up in Berea. He'd have Earl Bruce speak to us on Sunday, and Earl was always a great, God rest his soul, Earl was a great asset for us, because he'd lost to Michigan so many times, and he talks about what it's like to lose, because sometimes it's not about the joy of winning as much as it is the fear of losing. And again, I personal experience, I would tell my mom every year, if we lose to Michigan, I'm not coming home for Thanksgiving. I'm not coming home for Christmas. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't see anybody, because it's that bad in Columbus when you lose to Michigan. These players have dealt with it the last years. It is, you don't want to leave your house. You don't want to see anybody, because it's nasty, and it's really important to people in Ohio to beat Michigan. So I think that Urban took it to a different level with the assist of Mark Pantoni and going really national in recruiting. Again, the thing that Urban had from his time at Florida is he had those national recruiting ties in the South, particularly, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas getting the Bosa brothers. He was really at the forefront of getting really good players from Georgia, Texas. And again, when he showed up, he was Mick Jagger. Any high school he walked into, it's like God walking into the building, and he's got the little Ohio State logo on, and he's a recognized, right? He's like Saban. Him and Saban walk into a high school, it's different than Eli Dinkowitz or whoever, because he was that dude. He dominated the SEC, 2 national titles at Florida. And then, Ryan comes in and the infrastructure is in place. Again, if you're the head coach at Ohio State, you really only have to win one game. You got to beat Michigan, because you're going to beat everybody else because you have better players. So I think that's why we haven't did. But again, it's the consistency, it's the excellence, it's fantastic recruiting, and it's the brand, because people in South Florida, the kids like JJ Smith and Ennis and Tate, Ohio State's really cool. Put a lot of guys in the league. And that just all perpetuates. Thank you, D. Sunny. Fantastic question, as always. Tim Z, we're going to keep these cranking. Thank you for all these super chats. Again, if you guys have a question, hit that super chat. And also consider joining Buckeye Scoop Ultra, because we just launched that today, and it is already blowing up. So thank you guys for joining our premium membership, where we're going to do a premium chat for you guys probably once a month. It'll be ridiculously fun. So we'll get everybody in here, and it'll be a blast. Tim Z, thank you for the 5. Why is Josh Pate saying it's a nothing burger, and some others saying nothing's going to happen? I don't know. Nevada, I'm going to throw that to you because, again, I feel like I've been dealing with this for 2 weeks where these Michigan people and some of these national people that really aren't that plugged in, they don't know people at the networks. They don't know people at the highest levels of college football. We've got, I mean, between you and the Oracle, we've got this thing, covered, dead to rights. And it's been fantastic watching it all come to fruition. But is there anything dumber than saying that nothing is going to happen to these guys at this point?
Well, look, they've been insisting that since day one on this thing, and they've just all been wrong. I mean, they've been wrong, and so now what they've got to do is it's so predictable. The media is so predictable because what you do is you want to tweak one side or the other, and while people are piling on Michigan, then you go the other side. You go, oh, this is nothing, and then the Ohio State fans are all up in their arms, and it's all just kind of this little disingenuous game that they do, but. Just go back and look at the stuff that like Josh Page's written on this. He's been completely wrong on this since day one. He's gotten everything wrong. Like literally every fact has been wrong on that. And so, you know, hey, he just what he's hoping is that people forget and he can kind of it's kind of like Michigan trying to characterize today as a settlement. They're just hoping that people are stupid and that they just read that and they're like, oh, there was a settlement. No, there wasn't a settlement. You took your little regional last program back and you took your beating and and just be thankful that Petiti didn't make it worse because he's your daddy now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, he teabagged you guys. Okay. He
Yeah.
basically stood on you guys and he twerked all over your face. And you guys, it's embarrassing. I understand that because you guys, oh, Petiti, he's backing down. He's wavering. He wasn't wavering. He was twerking on you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened to you guys today. And I'm sorry, and it's hard for the Michigan fans, man. I can feel you guys in the chat. You guys are really upset about it, and it's got to be there's got to be a lot of anger, but you're going to get to acceptance, man. Just hang in there. I promise that it won't always feel this bad.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of funny just because the Big Ten doesn't have like an investigative team, so I mean they smack these guys out of respecting the brand, the Shield, the Big Ten brand, by suspending Harbaugh for 3 games. But the NCAA is like they're Genghis Khan. They're rolling in right now, and they got the horde coming, and it'd be like, well, the first guy didn't get me, but here comes Genghis Khan to wipe us out and say, well, he's probably not going to get us, even though he's conquered the entire world. But that's where these guys are, and it's dazzling how wrong these guys have been. It's almost insane how wrong they've been. And again, when they're doubling out again, some of these Michigan insiders and some of the stuff that they've been going with has just been, it's like, wow. I mean, do you guys have any subscribers left after you've been this wrong on everything? Because again, we talk to people. I mean, you talk to someone that knows Tony Petiti exceptionally well, and they know that this guy's a razor sharp dude. This is not a guy that you want to screw with. This is not a guy you want to F with and give him the middle finger and, oh, Jim Harbaugh's going to get on the stand and, they're going to reverse it. Like, no, I mean, this guy had everything calculated out. Again, Michigan's attorneys were like, look, you guys can do all this stuff, but your TRR is not going to get granted. So you guys are going to look like total idiots when you have Jim Harbaugh up there in his khakis with his stupid glasses on saying, well, I had no idea who this guy was. I didn't know. I had no idea. And I'm like, okay, sure. So you're a guy making $10 million a year and you don't know why all your coordinators are listening to some intern who makes 50 grand a year. These coordinators are making $1 million, $2 million a year, and they're listening to some, they're waiting to call their plays until this guy says, it's run right, or it's a draw, or it's a pass, or whatever. Like, I mean, again, you can't be, again, when you're at the top of the food chain, you're responsible for everything, but you also can't be that stupid. Again, Jim Harbaugh's been around football for 40 years. His dad was a longtime coach. His brother is one of the best coaches in the NFL. So you don't see like John Harbaugh taking, commands from some intern at Baltimore or whatever. This looks ridiculous. And you're just like, what does this guy know that they're listening to him? This is a hilarious super chat. Johnny Oden, a 5, a Michigan guy, of course. Nevada got a stiffy for the first time in 20 years off the scandal. You've got 5 kids, so I'm thinking that the old pipes are working pretty good. Nevada, you can respond to that if you want. Thanks for the 5, my dude.
Like I'm just glad that I got a Michigan fan worried about my stiffy.
Oh
God, that just kind of sums up the Michigan thing. Yeah, thank you, thank you, sir. My stiffy's doing just fine, but thanks for asking.
Wait till after we beat you guys. Oh my God, it's gonna be about a mile long.
God, it'll never go down.
it'll never go down. Joe Boo, thanks for the two, my man. Imagine if media went after the buying laptop like this. I know. I mean, we don't really talk politics, but it's just like, there's some stuff that just seems so obvious and, it gets swept under the rug. But that's it's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, it's just a strange, we're in a strange time. But again, the Big Ten is bigger than basically every, there's no team that's bigger than the Big Ten. And again, the Big Ten is a juggernaut. Again, adding USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA. I mean, this is going to be the conference in college football, coast to coast, massive TV deal. So you can't have this kind of stupidity from a member, and you got to smack these guys hard. This can't ever happen again. So
can I hold on? Can I just say?
Of course.
I don't want to take us too far afield. We just added USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. Guys.
My God!
Just run that one around in your head for a little bit. I mean, those are four of the sexiest programs in the world. Mm-hmm. So much fun. Going to their stadiums is great. If you get a chance to go to any of those games, go to it. It's just they're all different and they're all so much fun. And when they come to town in Columbus, it's going to be, you welcome their fans in. It's going to be a great show. I mean, what a absolute coup. I still, when you said it there, I'm just thinking about it. And I'm just like, I cannot believe we freaking pulled that off. That is unbelievable. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to let you continue on.
No, I agree. Like, again, I've never been more excited about college football. Again, it's like manna from heaven and a gift from God that we own BuckeyesCoop.com. We're on it. We grind on it every day. Information. It's always exciting to get ready for games. But now you throw SC going to Altson next year against Oregon, Washington. Again, for some of you fans that have never been to Washington, one of the most beautiful parts of the country. Again, there's not really any reason to go there, but if they're playing the Huskies, it's a great stadium. Played there in 2007. Ultra loud between the 30s because they have a big like aluminum or metal type awning that it is deafening. It's as loud as like a plane engine when you're in the middle of that. So but they've got the boats out there like outside the stadium. It's an awesome place. And that's the thing I love about it is like we get to go to like those places like every 2-3 years. Like we go out to Outsing, go out to the Coliseum, go out to UCLA, go to the Rose Bowl. Like that's really fun, not just for the fans, but for the players. Like, I mean, I don't want to go, to just like Rutgers and Indiana and Purdue and all these places that stink. Like to go to LA, family gets to go out there, kick it. You get all the fans out there. Like that is going to be awesome. And then those teams, when it's a random college football Saturday, it's going to be interesting and fun to see a team like USC like play like at Indiana or at Purdue or at Iowa, like these schools that they wouldn't play in 100 million years in a home and home. They got to go to those places now. So again, if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, oh, USC is coming to Purdue or whatever, like it's just kind of cool to see these really, A tier type schools like playing schools that they never would have considered playing before they joined the Big Ten. So, but again, I got another clip. Again, we've been watching a lot of Michigan film because I know everyone's got anxiety about it, but like this is so easy to stop. They love this football on a phone booth thing. This is Sharon Moore calling the plays. They got like 7 offensive linemen in here. These guys are line. They got an extra offensive lineman in. They got him. He's like 93, I think. He's an offensive tackle that they put in ineligible and a tight end. Like, and look what they do. Like again, if you said Kirk, you get to pick the offense to go against. So like, give me this. We're going to run ISO in the A gap, and Penn State plugs it. And Penn State's not as good as we are, especially like with Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton and those guys. This is so easy to stop. And again, this is what they do because they don't have the high flyers on the edge like old school Michigan when they had David Terrell and Braylon and Braylon Edwards and Manningham. Like they have nothing like that this year. So they like to do this ground and pound, especially when it's a tight game and they're trying to milk the clock. Again, they're going to do what a lot of these teams have done. They're going to run the ball. They're going to fist fight. They're going to try to keep Marvin off the field. And frankly, I think Kyle McCord is peaking right now. I mean, he's really doing a good job. Our line's playing great. Our defense is playing great. I love the matchup of our defense versus this offense because I just think that this is easy to stop. I think it's going to be something where, our run defense has been really good this year outside of the Rutgers game. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Because again, I like the matchup, more so than hyper-powered quarterback, hyper-powered spread stuff. But what are your thoughts on our matchup with our defense? Because I think our defense is the best in the country at this point.
Yeah, no, and And I'm telling you, like, people can discount this all they want, but not having Harbaugh is going to make a difference, man. I'm
Oh
telling you,
yeah.
that
Oh
is
yeah.
that is going to make a difference. And Sharon, Fatty Moore is not going to be able to get it done in a situation. There's a reason why that game's not easy for first time coaches to win in. This guy's going to have to go in there and beat Ohio State with Ryan Day, who's got this big game experience. He's coached in many of in Ohio State, Michigan game. He's coached against Georgia. He's coached against Clemson. He's coached against Alabama. He's been in there. That's a something. That is not help. If you're a Michigan fan, it's only a question of how much it hurts you. It's not a question of does it hurt you. It's just a question of how much. Is it 1%? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Whatever. But it's a something. And I like that because I truly believe that they're going to just try to pound it out. They're just going to try to. It's going to look like a game from 1981 or something like that. They're going to try to keep pounding and pounding and pounding. And I think we can stop that. Jim Knowles is clever enough. He knows what he needs to do in terms of how to stop that. It's not like it's escaped him. It's not like we don't have the guys. We just have to account for McCarthy's legs. If we can account for McCarthy's legs and not let him run wild on us, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that our interior this year is much better. I know Mike Hall is questionable. He's probably not going to play this week, but Ty Leak has been like, if you put Ty Leak in a Georgia Bulldog uniform or a Bama uniform, you'd be like, yeah, that's what a first round defensive tackle looks like. He's been dominant. Again, our edge guys have been fantastic against the run. And if you said, Kirk, gun to your head against Michigan, obviously, everyone's obsessed with sacks and all that. Would you rather have a guy who's excellent against the run or excellent against the pass in this game? Give me the two guys that are excellent against the run, because that's what we got to stop. Like JJ, it's going to be about containing JJ. Don't let him scramble. Don't let him convert a third and medium because you're an off man and you're running off and he sees an opening and he goes and takes it and slides. Because again, his legs killed us last year. He converted on some stuff and ran in a touchdown down in the close end of the field, and those are backbreakers. But I think that with Tommy Steele. This is a Cody Simon game. Like Cody Simon packed the hard hat, packed the Timberland boots with the steel toes. Like it's gonna be like one of those. But again, it's like I keep watching their film, and again, this is a highlight reel. Like I literally just pulled a highlight reel just to kind of see some of their better plays. And again, this is what they do. I mean, the 6 offensive linemen, right in the A gap, little counter play. Like this isn't hard to stop, and that's Blake Corum. This is all their big bad linemen. And Penn State's good, and Beaver Stadium is the loudest stadium in the country, so I'm sure it's loud. But like, I mean, this is soft as bread pudding right here. I'm sorry, like this guy's a Michigan left tackle. Like he looks like Ruben Riley. He used to stink back in 06. But that's just not, that's not up to their standard. And again, when you do this and you play football in a phone booth, essentially, you've got one guy out here, you got your ex out here manned up, and you've got all these guys in this big mosh right here. Like, I just think that's so easy to stop. You put Proctor down there, you get Cody out there, you get you get your guys out there. Like, that's not hard to stop, And again, that's their bread and butter. And again, when you said the statement about not having your head coach there, again, I've been to Ann Arbor twice. We won in 05 and 07. I couldn't imagine Jim Trussell not being there, because if Jim Trussell would have been suspended for 05 or 07, they probably make Jim Haycock the head coach, because Jim Bowman was up in the booth, and you got to have a guy that you don't want to bring your guy up in the booth as the OC down to the field because he has to be the interim coach. You probably make Jim Haycock the head coach. And like, I love Jim. I'm the biggest Jim Haycock fan in the universe. He's one of the greatest and one of my favorite coaches of all time. But it's different when you don't have, General Pat, you don't have Trust down there, running the show, that confidence, that pregame speech. Again, people don't think, I mean, they act like, he's not a play caller, because Bowles called most of the plays. But I just think that, not having that guy to look to and rally the team and influence the sideline and make the halftime adjustments and get guys, cranked up, I think it's devastating. And I mean that sincerely. Again, I couldn't imagine like in 2012 if they took Urban off the field and they made, because again, they'd probably make Luke would have been the acting head coach for a game. And it's just not the same. There's huge question marks there. Again, Sharon Moore, like, yeah, he can beat the tar out of Kent State, and he can beat Penn State, who's got the worst quarterback I've ever seen at Penn State, in Drew Aller. But you got to go play the Bucks now, and the Bucks they're spicy. I mean, they've gotten whacked 2 years in a row. They've heard about it literally every day for the last 700 days or whatever. And I think that it's going to be it's going to be cranked, or not, whatever, 450 days, whatever it has been since we lost the game in 2021. But I think losing Harbaugh is devastating. Again, it'd be the same if you lost Ryan Day and all of a sudden you make Hartline the head coach because Jim Knowles is up in the booth. I mean, that would be absolutely devastating for Huzzy because you have a guy basically trying to learn on the fly how to be a head coach in the most pressure packed, toughest game of the entire season. So I don't know. I love Ohio State's chances. I like them, but I was hoping Harbaugh would be there because I don't want any excuse. I don't want any asterisks. I don't want them to, we beat them and then they go to the college football playoffs. Oh, we didn't have our head coach and you should give us the 4 seed because we would have beat them if we had our head coach. But no, I don't want any of that. Because again, they made their own bed. Again, when you're counting cards and they break your hands and throw you out face first at the casino, like, don't cry to me. You guys knew what you were doing. You knew what the risk was. And when you're winning that money, it's great until they catch you. And all of a sudden your hand gets broken and they bust your face open on the door. Couple more super chats. Can OSU stop the run and contain JJ? I think they can. I mean, again, I think that the lack of, again, if you go back to last year's game, I know that it got ugly at the end. The numbers were crazy, but we slipped and fell. There was all this weird stuff that happened. They knew the plays. Again, you erase all that stuff. I mean, I think we're right in that. I mean, I think we win that. But again, a lot of weird stuff happened. I don't think it's going to happen again this year. But what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think I think small sample size stuff can always look kind of weird, but large sample size it generally reverts to the mean. And you're right, there were a lot of weird plays last year. There was guys falling down and fake punts not executed, and weird stuff where we were blitzing left and they were running right at just exactly the right time. And look, I think that stuff's going to even out. We're due a couple of breaks in the game, and all we need is just to be a even game for the break. Just nothing weird to happen. No big passes deflected in return for touchdowns or special teams gaffes or something like that. Just a straight up game against Michigan. We're going to win by 2 scores. I'm just telling you. They don't have a Trey Henderson. They don't have a Marvin Harrison. And when you at the end of the day, man, those are the guys that win these games. Those are the guys that win in the Ohio State Michigan game. Are your players better than their players? And they don't have anybody like that. And I think that's why we win.
See, I think that's an excellent point. And something I always say to people, and they look at me like I've got 7 heads when I say that, is like, look, I know everybody says like football's won in the trenches, and that's complete trash. It's garbage. I don't believe that at all. I think that it's won by the skill guys. Because again, in 04, 05, 06, 07. I mean, 07 was probably the closest to that being true because it was pouring rain and Beanie just had to run for 228 yards for us to win or whatever it was. But like, you go watch that 04, 05, 06 games. Those are games I lived. And like, you go look at 04, our skill guys won it. Like, Santonio Holmes was cooking Marlon Jackson like a cooked chicken. It was unbelievable. I mean, I remember I was out with Santonio that night. I was like, dude, like, that was a first round cornerback, and you absolutely just destroy. His releases were so ice cold, and he was cooking Marlon. Teddy ran a punt back. 05 Troy scrambles, makes amazing plays. Santonio, we ran like the same play 3 times in a row, kept throwing to Santonio. They couldn't check him. I mean, Pitt runs it in. 06 obviously was Troy's, the high watermark of his career. Gonzo was fantastic. Teddy had like 10 catches for like 140 years. I mean, everyone's like, oh, Ted was just a punt return. It's like, no, Ted dominated that game. So again, like, when people were like, well, Florida killed you, I was like, well, yeah, our best player got his leg broke on the first play. I mean, go watch what he did against Michigan. He wasn't just returning punts and running reverses. I mean, he was a dominant receiver in college. And I'd always tell guys like Santonio, I'm like, look, you guys won the game. Because Ohio State, Michigan, the trenches are usually pretty even. Like, they both have good O-lines. They usually both have really good D-lines. So it's kind of like a big mishmash stalemate. So the guys that win it are the skill guys. The guys like Santonio. Like, Santonio is one of the king Michigan killer if I ever saw one. Beanie. My senior Beanie ran for 230 yards, whatever it was, 2 touchdowns. I mean, those are the guys that win the game. So I know people are gonna say, oh, the Lions win it, but I was like, I've been a lineman, and it's like I played really good in all those games, but if Santonio doesn't cook those cornerbacks, then I don't have 4 pairs of gold pants. So I'm a very much a realist. It's not like we're gonna dominate them up front. I think it's gonna be a stalemate. They've got a great defensive line. They got a good offensive line, and we've got a good offensive line and a great defensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. D Sonny, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Again, you are probably our biggest regular, so appreciate you as always. How good is Will Johnson? I think he's good. any chance we get him one-on-one with Marv. I mean, I would take Marvin versus anybody in the universe right now at this point. I mean, there's guys in the NFL. I mean, I think 99% of the guys in the NFL would get cooked by Marvin. But what do you think, Nevada? Does anybody make you nervous when you have Marvin Harrison out wide?
No, I mean the only way you've got to bracket him, you've got to double him. That's the only way you can kind of take him away. And I think Michigan will try to do that. But when you do that, that just leaves things open for. I mean, you got to remember, last year we played Michigan and no Jackson Smith and Jigba, no Trey Henderson. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like Trey Henderson is the big X factor in this whole thing, man. Because if they just swing him the ball out there, if they just get him on those releases, if they just get him out there on the edge, they get him out there on the orbit motion. Yeah, play your double on Marvin and try to mitigate the damage there. But Trey's going to kill you then. And like I said, I can't wait for the game. I'm so excited. I think the only path that's a bad one is if Ryan tenses up and doesn't let her hang loose. But he's been good. He's been getting better, and I think he'll have his best performance in 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think Trey Henderson is the absolute X factor for the entire game. I think he's the most important player in the entire game. If Trey does what Trey does, I think we win handily. Again, great point. He was not available last year. Again, I couldn't imagine how my career would have turned out if Beanie Wells wasn't available. I mean, he's a Beanie Wells first round type factor back. And again, like Chip's a nice player, and Dallin and all these other guys, but Trey's the first round guy. And again, first round guys look different. Like, when you've got Ezekiel or, JK was a second round guy, or, I mean, in 02, like when you had Reese, like, I mean, again, in 03, we had like 20 starters back, but we lost Maurice Claret and we were just okay on offense. But in 02, like, I mean, you give it to that dude, you give it to Reese. I mean, it's terrifying. And again, I think that, Trey, especially on the road, because I always say this is a Mickey Muratiism. He always talked about, you go on that road, you pack that running game, you pack that defense, you pack the toughness clothes. He always called it the toughness clothes. You go put those, I didn't even know what that meant, but it's like, steel-toed boots and, your work boots and your little hard hat and everything. That's the kind of game this is. Again, because I've played on the road. It can get sketchy and get loud, whatever, but if you can run the ball and drain the energy out of the crowd, it makes your life a billion times easier. It really makes Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison's life a lot easier when they have to move guys up in the box to stop Trey, which again, I think that there's, I think Michigan is their strength are their D tackles are really good players. I think that, there's a reason why Matt Jones is repping at center. I think that they want like some bulk in there against those two guys, because the one guy's like 340, and I played Gabe Watts, I played Alan Branch. Alan Branch is probably the best D tackle they've ever had. I mean, he was 360 pounds, 6'7" monster, and we dogged him pretty good. But you got to have that attitude and come off the ball and smash these guys and wear them out. Another super chat. Appreciate you, Todd. Thank you, brother. Hope USU wins by 3 scores so they can't use not having Harbaugh as an excuse. I don't know if it's 3 scores. Again, at this point in the season, I always tell people, like, look, what do I want this week? I want us to win by 1 point. That's it. Just survive in advance, flush it down the toilet after the game. Nevada, is there a margin of victory if Ohio State wins, when Ohio State wins, that, people could say, well, if Jim Harbaugh was there, this wouldn't have happened? Or is it just completely defunct at that point? And he's on mute, so he's going to come back. But I just think that, if you're within 7-ish, that people will be crying about Harbaugh. It'll be interesting to see how the college football playoffs come out if we went up there, when we went up there. And, if Harbaugh can come back for the playoff, like, how does that affect how they vote? Do they penalize them a lot like Barry Bonds and some of these guys for cheating? They don't let them in the Hall of Fame. They don't let them in the playoffs. I think that's going to be really fascinating to watch. Again, appreciate all you guys. Again, this has been cranked up, but I think something that is exceptionally important in this game is quarterback run. And again, you guys that know me on Buckeye Scoop, again, I do not want us to run A-gap power like JT Barrett and Tim Tebow and that type of thing. But, Drew Aller was struggling pretty bad. He's been awful this year. Again, I told you that their interior guys are good, and this guy's real good on the inside. And, Drew Aller, I'm going to get Nevada back in here. Nevada, are you there?
I am here.
All right, I apologize. So I'm just breaking down a play real quick, but I was talking about how, when it's all going bad, this guard gets beat clean by their D tackle as a good player, and Aller steps up. And again, I think that this is a key this year when it's all falling apart and nothing is to be had, he just goes, "This is what I call free money. Free money." Put the little dollar sign there. That's free money, and he goes and takes it. He hits a slide, doesn't take a big blow. But again, these conversions on 2nd and 4 where you can go and get 15 yards, like this is what I talk about when I say the quarterback has to run. I'm not saying go drop your shoulder here and get killed and get concussed and break your shoulder in half or whatever. But I think that's really important. But on the super chat we just had, I'm going to switch back to it. Is there a margin of victory? And again, Todd Dole, this is a great question. He says, I hope OSU wins by 3 scores so they can't use not having Harbaugh as an excuse. If we win by like a field goal or 7, do you think that will be kind of the looming narratives? Like, well, they didn't have their head coach. They had Sharon Moore. And if he's there, he's a 3-point difference or a 7-point difference. Or is that just moot? And how do you think the College Football Playoff Committee would evaluate these guys if it's a close loss, but they didn't have their head coach?
Now, you can't lose a home game at this time of year. You lose a home game this time of year and you're out. So just win by 1 point. It doesn't matter how we win, what the circumstances are, what the conditions are. Doesn't, for Michigan, that it ends it all, man. It ends their illusion of dominance. It ends Harbaugh's career. It ends Ono's career. It ends Wade Manuel's career. I mean, it ends it all. And how beautiful is that going to be? I mean, it's just fitting. It's perfect. It's going to happen. We're better than Michigan. We're better than Michigan, and we're gonna see it. That I don't think Michigan respects Ohio State. I think they've kind of bought into this illusion of toughness, which was really just a cover story for cheating. We're tougher. That's why we've gotten better. We keep the pressure on. That's why we win so much. No, you just cheat. You cheat. You guys were terrible. And then you started cheating and you got better. And now when your cheating's gone, you're going to go back to being irrelevant again. So, like I said, Harbaugh not being there, I love it from one side. I sincerely wanted him to be there. But when we win by whatever we win by, just watching them cry is going to be beautiful.
No, I totally agree. Again, and this is amazing because I literally I pulled the highlights from Michigan, Penn State, the extended cut, and again, this is like the 4th play in a row. It's like football in a phone booth, and this is the stuff they run, and it's like this is so easy to defend. Like again, I say this over and over again, but I would kill to go against something like this. Like this is a tackle for a loss. I mean, this is 2nd and 9. They've got they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10 guys in the box. Got your X receiver out here, one up. This is so easy. Again, people, the old covered wagon, Jim Tressel ball, but there's no misdirection, there's no spread, there's no threat really of a pass. I just think that I love going against stuff like this. And again, Penn State has a good defense, but they're not as good as ours. I mean, we played these guys, and that's why I get so excited because I'm like, the O-line is down. They're not as good as they were last year. I think they're good, maybe above average. Maybe, I won't call them great. I won't call them dominant. But, I watch their offense and I'm like, God, I hope they run this against us. I hope that they do this. They don't spread us out. So I think it's easy to defend. Well, Nevada, again, it's Thursday night. We got Minnesota this week. What are your thoughts on the team going forward? Again, I think a lot of guys are going to get held out. I think a lot of guys like Cade Stover, they want to play that last game. It's their last shot in the shoe. There's a lot of emotion on senior day. Senior day is, and I'm awful, but I hated senior day. I didn't like, my mom on the field. I don't like the crying. I don't like the tears and all the emotion. Because when I come out of that tunnel, it's time to go kill. It's not time to cry and hand people roses and do hugs and that type of thing. We do that after the game. But what are your thoughts on senior day and this game again against Minnesota? They're a dead dog. Again, they're going to be sacrificial lamb to the Bucks. But what do you want to get out of this game versus Minnesota at 4:00 on Saturday?
Just a 1-point win, and I like Ohio State in the first half of the game. I think the second half is anybody's guess how that game kind of breaks down with who plays, who doesn't play, what goes on. But I'm betting Ohio State on the first half line. I think they'll come out and roll. But like I said, it doesn't matter at this point of the year, as you mentioned earlier. Just win by a point. I mean, I don't care how many points we win by against Michigan. I mean, or against Minnesota rather. I mean, we won by whatever we won by against Michigan State last week. and what happened? We dropped from 1 to 2. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
none of it
So
matters.
just
No.
go out and play your game, do your thing. Got to win up in Ann Arbor in 9 days. You do that, and everything you want is in front of you. So just win, and let's not knock on wood, not have any injuries.
I mean, is there anything more worthless than these, I know they did for fodder and TV ratings, but like, like people actually like analyze these stupid playoff ratings like this early in the season. And I'm like, it's just a waste of energy. I get that they want to make it a spectacle because ESPN owns it. So they're gonna have the show where Georgia's number one now and Ohio State's number two. But, to me, it's just like, don't even look at that stuff. If you handle your business and you run the table, then you're in. And if you're the one, the two, the three, the four, it just doesn't matter. You just want to be in the top four. And I think that it's always interesting. People are like, oh, we moved from 1 to 2 and Georgia jumped us. But I'm like, dude, like, I mean, I like our road way better than them. I mean, we beat Michigan. We got to go play Iowa in the Big Ten championship. They can't score 3 points against the air, let alone our defense. And then Georgia's got to go play Bama, who's resurgent since they lost to Texas. Again, their quarterback is dynamic. The line I think is better. Again, like the thing about Bama when they lose early is Nick Saban is going to get out the pitchforks and just murder those kids, and they're going to be way better in 10 weeks than they were when they lost to Texas at home. But like, what are your thoughts the next 2 weeks? I mean, again, is it just get through this, get these guys healthy, go crank one out at Ann Arbor, and then let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've got the way easier path than most of these teams do to the playoff. Everything. We completely control our own destiny. As you mentioned, it doesn't matter whether you're 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're going to get a neutral site game. None of these games are home games, even though we can talk about them. Where they're going to be. It's going to be a neutral site game somewhere, and you're going to have to beat a really good team to win the college football playoff. So, for Ohio State, I think the season is set up perfectly, and this week is just one of those necessary speed bumps. Just get through this last one, not have anything weird happen from an injury standpoint, and let's get on to Ann Arbor.
Totally agree. Final thoughts. Wrap this thing up and get ready for tomorrow.
Central Michigan, man, the Central Michigan Connor Stallion spyglasses caper is going to have far-reaching implications. That's blown this Michigan investigation wide open, and it could cost them a couple of coordinators. So let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Appreciate you guys kicking with us a little bit later tonight, but we had a huge crowd tonight. So thank you guys as always. We just launched Buckeye Scoop Ultra. Check that out on our YouTube page. It's a new subscription plan. Do some private shows where we're going to be doing chats, answering all your questions, breaking down film. It's going to be really, really fun. So we're excited about that. With that being said, if you enjoy this content, please click subscribe. Also, like the content. There's about 1,300 of you in here, so we've got 270 likes. So leave a like on the way out the door. Those launch these videos into the stratosphere. Again, the more likes, the more this gets recommended. So you guys do a big part helping that. So thank you guys, as always, so much. And if you guys enjoy this content, click the little alert bell. You get an alert every time we go live. So a lot of you guys are in here every night. Appreciate our regulars. You guys are killing it. Thank you guys so much. Shout out where you guys are watching from. What are your plans for the game? What are you guys doing for the game? Are you guys chilling at home? You guys like to go out? Again, we've got a sponsorship with Buffalo Wild Wings, so I'm rocking the cup. Again, B-Dubs. If you guys love B-Dubs, we love B-Dubs. They're big helms to BuckeyeScoop.com, so shout out Buffalo Wild Wings. And also, give me your score predictions for this game. I love reading the comments, seeing where you guys are at with it. And again, every day is a new adventure with this Michigan stuff, so we appreciate you guys tuning in as always. So thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks. And this might be my new favorite tradition because I think you guys do this to me where you guys send super chats after I'm done with the show. Jeff Rittenhouse, I appreciate you, brother. This is always funny when I have to come back in because I do not want to leave you guys hanging when you guys give us a quick little tip. So thank you for the 5. I appreciate you, my man. Keys to win: gap control, absolutely on defense. Make yums or linebackers run side to side. Crossing routes, totally agree. K and Trey on wheel routes. Fantastic stuff. Again, I can't leave that one hanging. So thank you guys as always for the super chats. You guys bring the heat. You guys are really astute, smart people. We try to make you guys better on BuckeyeScoop.com, make you guys learn some stuff. But again, I learned just as much from you guys. You guys are really sharp. That's fantastic, Jeff. I agree. Crossing routes, again, we did that in 18. We shredded them. So I think that's a big key to the game. So thank you, my man. Appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. See you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.